There are some things you can only experience once in a lifetime, and then there are things you can only do once in a lifetime. American endurance cyclist Payson McElveen pushed his body to the limit and cycled through the diverse landscapes of Tasmania on his first attempt. It's a feat worthy of books and movies, and we bet you're curious to know how he did it. Stick around and we'll show you. First off, traversing a unique route. It wasn't an easy ride for McElveen, but not because it was a primarily jungle-esque track. Tasmania would hardly be much of a challenge, seeing the other landscapes he's crossed before that were far rockier and dangerous. He's known for being competitive and pushing himself for new records of speed. Yet the cycling route cut through Tasmania was made for anything but. The only challenge for him was not to rush it. His excursion lasted 1 day, 8 hours and 33 minutes. McElveen talked about the experience of letting go of his competitive racer side and learning to enjoy the view. Of course, it's only the right thing to do after the immense work and care put into developing the route. Developed with the country's endurance cyclist Emma Flukes, it was made with the many landscapes in mind, so the track could cover the best of everything the island had to offer. With 360 miles and 34,000 feet of elevation to cover, it wasn't the safest route either, since it only had 3 opportunities to restock food, water, and other supplies. It had its challenges, most of which cannot be solved with speed. Anyone taking on such a journey must be extremely willed and physically strong to survive the course. Tasmania is already a different scene compared to his other routes, as the wilderness holds many wildlife species prone to attack people at any given moment. It was a challenge in many ways, but McElveen's made it clear that he wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. Coming up, planning ahead of time. No one should go unprepared with wilderness routes like Tasmania's, especially one as long. We're talking about unstable rocky slopes, loose humid soils, and slippery flats. Flukes were there every step of the planning process, since she's trekked the island and covered more ground than anyone else. Having accomplished her own trip from a different route extending from south to north, she could offer her insights and stay in touch with McElveen over emails and calls. With months of research and planning, they were finally able to draw out a route that included plenty of stops, detours, trails, and goat tracks to enrich the experience. There was quite a budget and rationing to be done to be well prepared, including having enough water, food, and medical supplies. McElveen revealed how his track was made for its crescendoing in difficulty the further east he traveled, the peak of it being the last 100 miles that featured 11,000 feet of climbing, followed by Tasmania's world-famous single track that stretches for another 50 miles. He began his ride on 6 November from the edge of the world, a nickname for an isolated beach community west of Arthur River. His first 70 miles cut through one of the largest last-standing subtropical rainforests, the Tarkine, with many Tasmanian natives and their peaceful neighbors of wombats and wallabies cheering him on. He made it to the Bay of Fires on the island's east coast on November 8. The result? He couldn't be happier. He'd gotten what he wanted, stating, "A true antidote to my racing career." Let's take a look at Payson McElveen's career so far. Undoubtedly, he could accomplish this, and much of it's attributed to his love of cycling in childhood. Hailing from Texas, the 29-year-old cross-country marathon mountain bike rider's a 5-time collegiate title winner and a U.S. national champion. From competing in junior and U23 to marathon nationals, a lot influenced him to eventually take up long-distance riding. Being the son of a mountain bike racer was a huge advantage. The hobby came naturally to him. He rode his first bike at 4 years old after watching his father ride one. He began racing at 14 and became a member of the USA's cycling national team at 17. There was a small break in the middle where he picked up playing basketball, but it couldn't quite compare to the thrill of a bike ride. Even picking his college was influenced by his passion for bike riding, picking Fort Lewis College, set in the rocky terrains of Durango, Colorado, which is known to be a bike hub. Out of his many accomplishments, one of the most noteworthy apart from his Tasmanian ride has to be the one-day bike ride across Iceland. McElveen's love of traveling's hard to curb, and he's even built his own mobile home in a van that he takes to live out on the road. With Red Bull, Oakley, Trek, and Orange Seal backing him up, he can go nowhere but up from here on out. Following up, pre- and post-biking care and maintenance. Any sport or strenuous physical activity needs aftercare if the body's going to bounce back well enough for another go, and McElveen takes his recovery very seriously. Before that, it's even more important to train for challenges like the Tasmanian route well before taking them on. Preparing for any and every possibility before, after, and even during the ride is important. Every win takes months and months of training to pay off. Even then, the chances of losing are still higher. For some reason, that's the part of the sport that keeps McElveen the most motivated. Then again, taking the losses like a champ comes with the dangerous sport of off-pavement biking, where reaching preset goals is even more difficult due to the unpredictable nature of the landscape. So how does he keep his spirits up in the face of all this? Many of his reasons to continue are due to the community around him. Holding himself accountable to those that surround him keeps his priorities in check. From the local Tuesday night rides to the online community through his podcast, McElveen has the constant attention and support of many who offer him priceless tips and tricks to keep him physically and mentally on track. Like his career, he has a pretty one-track outlook on staying active. He does strength maintenance at the gym, but on the off chance, you'll find him either hiking or playing basketball to keep up his endurance. Up next, all the best parts. Payson McElveen's love for biking brings many other experiences that are hard to pass up the opportunity for. He's talked about how important it is to stay active and that he's a pretty good basketball player, yet it tires him out pretty quickly, and maybe it's because of how repetitive it can be to keep throwing a ball into a hoop. Biking brings a change of scenery that basketball can't, and it fulfills his wanderlust. Biking and traveling the world is the one combo he's grateful for. Making new friends is another part of the appeal, and having people to share his journeys with only adds to the joy of it. He recalls that being a long-distance rider wasn't a conscious choice, but a natural evolution of his biking career. When chasing intense feats like speed records wasn't enough, it pushed him off the pavement into exploring more challenging territories that required more of him, like patience and grit. Mountain biking rarely feels like work to me, says McElveen, showing how passionate he is about it. Apart from traveling the world, he's had the opportunity of appearing in a documentary now too. McElveen had two trusty aides, award-winning filmmakers Joey Schussler and Thomas Woodson, keeping an eye on his every pump of the Tasmanian trek. They and a camera crew followed McElveen through the thickness to record the most daring adventure he'd been on, and the film's set to release at the Sea Otter Classic in April 2023. Finally, the path to greatness. Let it be known that biking didn't come naturally to him, and he reminds all new bikers when they first take up the sport. He's very candid about his lack of talent used to be a major factor of encouragement to get better at it, and perhaps it's why it makes him one of the greatest out there. Having the opportunity to make mistakes that he wouldn't otherwise have has given him a lot of upper hand in his training. In fact, Payson McElveen has his own podcast, The Adventure Stash, where he gives plenty of insight into the world of biking and how to approach the sport. And that's the end of today's segment. So, what do you think? Feeling inspired? Payson McElveen makes it all look so easy, but many would consider taking on the sport themselves to see what the big deal's about. We won't stop you. It's exciting to be on the road and see the world this way. Tell us what you think in the comments. If you like what you saw, be sure to like and subscribe. We'll see you next time.